CMLL on the track, boys.
And we are officially live. Hello to all my BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome, excuse me, to another rendition of Los Lobos de la Lucha, your weekly CMLL review show here at the BC WrestlePod Network Syndicate Conglomeration Thingamabob. We do pretty much every day of the week now. I am El Jefe of BC WrestlePod. I am in the first position tonight. Mikey, and of course, joining me as always is, our honorary invited to the quince always, and Papa Oso himself. So, I love Adolfo. I miss him so much. Damn it. I was like, awesome. We're going to have a great show tonight. And then he can't make it. I'm like, no. I was like, it's okay, Adolfo. You could just say you don't like us. It's fine. I'm just kidding. No, but Adolfo will be back next week. I am so happy that, he's on the up and up. The body is a crazy thing. We're just going to leave it at that. The body is a crazy thing. But we are going to have a lot of fun tonight. And of course, joining us as always in the chat is our unofficial co-host, friend to the channel, primo to the channel, hermano to the BC WrestlePod family. Agent Lo-Fi is in the house. So we're going to have a good time. We got a lot of things to talk about. We are recapping Viernes Espectacular. Specifically, this was Night of Champions in CMLL. So every single match was a championship match of some capacity. And we're going to get into that. But before we do, we'll quickly run through the announcements. If you like what you see here and you want to explore more of our full live stream and edited reviews. You can follow us and subscribe on YouTube or follow us on Twitch or Kick, whatever your preferred platform is for streaming/video consumption content is. But we also understand that full length reviews may not be up to your speed or you do not have the time. But if you still want to get involved in our little community, then follow us on the social medias at BC WrestlePod. We do report cards for all the weekly shows, the pay per views. We give you previews as to whether or not an episode of television is going to be good or not, according to us. And you know what? We just have a blast on the internet doing a lot of stuff. We also have ways that if you want to support us financially, there are two main methods of doing so. One is to donate to the BC WrestlePod Kofi, whatever you want to call it. That little friend is going to be popping in ever so often during a review in the chats. So make sure that you can click the link and to help us keep the metaphorical and possibly physical lights on for BC WrestlePod, because this is an undertaking, and you know what? We do a lot. So we want to keep this going as much as we can, but we need as much help as we can get. But on top of that, if you want to support us financially, but also, get something nice for yourself, then we have our merchandise. So if you want to cop a BC WrestlePod, shirt or whatever, we have everything. We have all of our merch for our review teams, and we also dropped 4 special limited edition collections that are available until they are no longer doing so. And I brought pictures this time. So let's get into the slideshow really quickly. We have all of our new collections are tied to charities of some sort. So first, if you're feeling into the fall season, we have our pumpkin suplex latte collection, which, is here for all your basic white girl needs. And the charity associated to our fall collection is No Kid Hungry, which provides meals for children during the holidays as well as the back to school season. We also dropped a limited edition collection just in time for Latino Heritage Month, and part of the proceeds will be donated to different organizations that help preserve the arts, whether it's performing, visual, media arts of Latin artists in Latin countries from around the world. And just dropped today is our special double collection for Halloween. First and foremost, giving homage to the grindhouse style of posters and artwork, we have dropped our Botox Skeletor shirt, which anybody who has tuned into our WWE review for a very long time know that this is our running joke. But we wanted to make it extra spoopy, so we give an homage to the grindhouse film genre, and this is also tied to a charity called Haunters Against Hate, which is an organization that provides like scare zones and, Halloween haunts while also fighting, hateful people. So that's always a good one. And then finally, for a little bit more on the fun side, we have our Monsters of the Mats collection, which is our ode and homage to, our interpretation of the Monster Mash. So we have our Sasquatch in a luchador mask dancing in the middle of the ring with the rest of the classic Halloween monsters that we expect from it. And part of the proceeds will be donated to the Wildlife Conservation Organization because, nature is beautiful and we want to preserve it. So that's always a good thing. But if you want to get all of that, then link in the description of this video and in the chat below to get all those cool merchandise. I have way too much time on my hands, you guys, but I digress. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's just jump straight into this because Papa Oso, we got a lot of championship matches to talk about tonight. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. I was just like, let's see how this night goes. And by the end of it, I was just like, damn, these were really good. I can't wait to talk about all of these. So let's just kick things off. We opened up Viernes Espectacular this week with our first championship match. So again, all these matches that we are going to be discussing tonight are from Night of Champions for CMLL, which is, of course, everything was on the line, or at least most things were on the line with CMLL, and they're like 15,000 championships. It's crazy. But we kick things off with our, Micro Estrellas Championship, in which the champion going into this match was Tengu, taking on the challenger and Gemalito. So all the challengers were decided by a vote from the peoples, and they have chosen Gemalito to be the champion. I laughed my ass off. I'm not gonna lie. I had such a blast with this one. I was like, okay, it's the Micro Estrellas. We know what we're getting with all of this. This was a lot of fun. This was a bit on the shorter side, but given the fact that what matches were given time and later in the second half of the show, it's like, yeah, some time was going to be cut, but I had a fun time with this one. Agent Lo-Fi already coming in with the takes is like, I can't tell if this was match of the year or decade. Give Gemalito all the belts. Oh my god, I love this one. And I mean, spoiler alert, Gemalito does walk out as champion, so he beats Tengu. So your winner and new Micro Estrella champion is Gemalito. Papa, also, this is what kicked things off for us on this Night of Champions. What did you think of this opening bout?
Hilarious. This is I think my second. I think this is my second one of the Micro Estrellas. I think, and they're just fun. It's, and I don't know, and it's sad, and this is probably gonna say a lot about me as a person, but I don't know if it was fun because of what it was or who it was. I don't know. I can't rectify it within myself. I don't know what it was. I just thought I found myself laughing a lot and enjoying it and just having a good time. So I guess that's all that really matters.
Listen, we watch Lucha Libre. It is okay. Like when we saw the Micro Estrellas were on the card, it's like we know what we're getting into.
It's fair.
Don't feel bad. We love tiny people fighting. It's great.
Yes, we do. and yeah, I was happy that Gemalito won.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have to agree with you also, Agent Lo-Fi. Gemalito's gear was on
it was
point.
pretty cool.
You listen, there were a lot of outfits on point this episode. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was because it was Night of Champions, but there was a lot of people that showed up and showed out, and I was here for all of it. I was like tens across the board. But again, Gemalito is your new Micro Estrella champion. So this was a lot of fun. This definitely set the tone for the rest of the evening. And we would continue that energy going into our next championship match, which I was just like, yes. So for the CMLL World Middleweight Championship, this is the champion and Papa Oso's baby daddy, Templario, taking on the challenger in Mr. Viano Dres Jr. This was Bob. This was great. I had a good time with this one. Again, this was for the middleweight championship. Again, I don't know what it was. I don't know what it is, but a more aggressive Templario is what I'm always here for. And it kind of shows up in his kind of arsenal and style that he ends up bringing to this match. But again, even with the Aniversario show, I'm becoming such a more and more a bigger fan of Viano Tres Jr. and all the Vianos, really, because they are fantastic. Of course, I'm not going to lie. Had Templario lost, this would have been a whole different podcast, and it would have made for great content anyways.
Yeah.
I would have gotten a text message, I'm distraught. I can't be on this podcast. And you know what? I would have come to understand. Spicy Papa also is great though. But of course, Templario does end up retaining his middleweight championship and still your CMLL middleweight champion in, Yo quiero Templario. We love him to see it. However, I also have to agree with Agent Lo-Fi in this point too, that this was a fun match and Viano gave it everything he had in this match, which made it very entertaining to watch. Mm-hmm. Papa Oso, second match of the evening. What did you think of this middleweight championship fight?
Any fight that Templario is in, I am all about. And I have to agree. I thought both of these men put it all out there. And I agree with Agent Lo-Fi too. This match just felt huge. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just because of these two men in general, but it did. I agree with you. It did feel there was something grand about it. and I'm not really sure what, but maybe it was just the sheer charisma or whatever coming off, the energy, electricity coming off these two men. But I agree. This match just felt massive, and both of them, they literally, I honestly believe, I think they both came into this ring, they dropped it all in the ring. It didn't, nobody held. I didn't feel like they held back. I felt that this was like, we're doing this. Let's do it. We gave it our all. So, oof, Templario.
Listen, if that man came up to you and be like, "Hey, baby," I'd be like, "I don't think we would see Will for a couple of weeks, y'all."
Nope. You would not.
Be like, "Hey, where's Will?" He's like, "Oh, he's with Templario." Enough said. And then I would get the tea from him later. No, but this was such a big. This was again, yeah, like with you and Agent Lo-Fi said, this felt like a big fight energy type of match, and this was so good. And you know what? I forgot about this little fact too, that the card order was based on total fan votes. So obviously, this was nuts that this was his opening second. And I was just like, oof, where are we going from here, y'all? And well, we didn't have to wait long for our answer, because again, we get our next championship match, this time for the Mexican National Trios Championship. It is our challengers of Stigma, Arcalis, and Rayo Metálico taking on the champions, which is Hijo de Stuka Jr., Felino Jr., and El Cobarde. So again, CMLL has two sets of titles, the CMLL and the national titles. So this was for the Mexican National Trios Championship match. This match, on my notes, all I have is, my God, bodies flying everywhere. I'm just like, that's all I have, because like I couldn't write anymore, because every time I try to write something, like two people would be doing multiple things at the same time. I'm like, oh, I need to watch this match, otherwise I'm going to miss important things in this match. Which I feel like you could apply to any match here in CMLL. I'm not even going to lie. But with this match in particular, I'm like, there are 6 men in this ring, and if I blink, I'm going to miss something. So literally, like Clockwork Orange, like peel my eyeballs open to keep them from blinking. I'm just like, holy hell, the energy was off the charts with this one. This was a really fun back and forth between all 6 individuals, but it would ultimately be our champions of Hijo de Stuka Jr., Felino Jr., and El Cobarde who would retain the championships. But I had a blast with this one. I was like, give me high octane action any day.
This one was super fun. And this is, again, man, Lucha, it never ceases to amaze me. Never ceases to amaze me. Yeah, I could watch these 6 men 3 different nights and get something completely different every 3 nights and enjoy all 3 of them like equally. I just think that, man, they were everywhere. It was just like there was a couple of times I kind of got lost. I was like, wait, who's doing what? It was, yeah, it was so good. Super good.
It definitely was. And Agent Lo-Fi coming in, with his thoughts on this. It started a bit rough, but they got it going in the second half, and this was a proper fun one, which I have to agree. Also, looking at this picture right here, I can't for the life of me. I'm just like, Hijo de Stuka Jr. with his goggles and what looks to be a bike helmet with eyebrows. I'm like, what is happening in this picture right now? I'm like, but it's snakes. But I'm like, from a distance, they look like he literally Cholita eyebrow sharpie these things onto his helmet. They're snakes. They're not Chola eyebrows. But I was just like, now I kind of wish they were Chola eyebrows. But I digress. I had a blast with this one. It was a little touch and go from the beginning, but then once we got into the second act, if you will, of this match, this was fantastic. And I was just like, oh man, I can't wait to see what's next. Listen, So give you a little bit of backstory. So this past weekend, like I promise there's a point to this. This past weekend, I was at my friend Uriel's house and we were watching AEW All Out Toronto. And of course, Mascara Dorada was in the triple threat for the AEW Unified Championship with him, Konosuke Takeshita, and Kazuchika Okada. The long story short version of it is by the end of this match, my friend Uriel is now a huge fan of Mascara Dorada. And again, this 23-year-old, it has the rocket strapped to him, and this match was no exception. So this was for the World Historic Welterweight Championship. Mascara Dorada, the champion, taking on the challenger and Capitan Suicida. This was another match where if I blinked, I was going to miss something. Because, again, these two are just like, we just going to flip. We just going to do all the things. And I'm like, oh, yes. I had a blast with this one. You know, Captain Suicida especially has been getting a push a little bit, if you even want to call it a push. He's been appearing more on Viernes Espectacular. I think this is a really solid match between Mascara Dorada and him. Not necessarily my favorite, because I feel like we kind of, both men were a little bit more reserved, at least towards the middle of this, and then kind of kicked it up, but then the match was over. I was like, oh, I feel like we got into third gear, but never truly in fourth. But I still had a great one. But you know what? I would love to see them be able to get some more reps in and then come back and give it a little bit more. Papa, what did you think about this one?
I liked it, of course, as usual, but I have to agree that I thought it felt a little stuck in the mud. You know, it felt a little sluggish, I think is what I'm going to call it. I think they both did pretty good, and I have to agree with Agent Lo-Fi. What we got from Mascara Dorada is what we always get from Mascara Dorada, I felt. Not that that's a bad thing. But I will have to say, I thought Capitan Suicida, I think he was kind of the star of this match. I mean, honestly, because he was showing out. I have to give it to him. And I think, again, Mascara Dorada, he is Mascara Dorada, and he's going to do his thing, and that's what he does. And there ain't nothing wrong with what he does, because I love Mascara Dorada. But I agree. I think, and I also agree with Agent Lo-Fi earlier about, I think they have a better match in them than this one. Oh yeah, there it is. I agree. I think there's a stronger match that can happen between them, I think.
So Agent Lo-Fi coming in, Capitan has been really inconsistent the past couple months, so this was good to see from him, which I tend to agree to. Again, if Capitan Suicida continues to be as consistent as this match was, I think would love to see more from him come 2026, really, and the rest of this year if we're going to. But Mascara Dorada once again retains his World Historic Welterweight Championship, and then we move on. I kid you not, Papa. By the end of this match, I needed to know where the icy hot was. I needed to get this. Okay. I know that India, Sui, and Kira individually can go hard if they need to. They're both sore in the morning. Oh my god, this was so much more hard hitting than I thought it was going to be.
Oh no!
Like the snapdragons, just the pure lariats, just like strong. If you want to call it the lucha libre style, like strong style in Japan, where we're just hitting hard.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, these girls were going at it, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" This was crazy. This was for the Mexican National Women's Championship, champion India Sui, and challenger Kira. That finisher for India was nuts. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "I'm terrified." And honestly, I think I'm slightly turned on too.
I know.
I was just like, oh my god. Oh my god. Hey.
Oh my. Yeah. Well, yeah, this went exactly as hard as I thought it was going to go. I really did. It's a championship. I thought, these two women are about to just destroy each other. And sure enough, I mean, it was hard hitting. I was like, yeah, Amazonas, go to town. And they did not disappoint. And I agree, they're going to be sore in the morning.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm laughing, but for a good reason. Agent Lo-Fi is just like, he agrees that this was, this was more hard hitting, especially for Kita. Also, a completely different Kita from the night before on that Pokemon show, which is very true. The funny thing is we got Night of Champions on Friday, but the day before on Thursday was the Pokemon collaboration show for the new Pokemon game coming out this month. We had a bunch of the wrestlers come out in Pokemon themed gear. We literally had an Eevee and a Pikachu mascot the whole entire night.
Hilarious.
Please go watch it. Like my two fandoms crossing over, video games and lucha libre and wrestling. Like you can never go. Well, I mean you can't go wrong, but I feel like this was a crossover done right. Místico came out dressed as the Pokemon Lucha, which is a Mexican wrestler bird Pokemon. And then Hechicero came out as Machamp, which is like the very muscly four-armed Pokemon. The Amazonas came in dressed as Pokemon too. It was so fantastic. Like, I highly recommend the show. This was great. And I love this. But damn, yeah, it was really nice to see more hard hitting from Kita. Both of these women killed it. I'm gonna be so for real. I think this was. I'm still trying to figure out what my favorite match of this was. I think this is definitely in my top two. Agent Lo-Fi reminding us that Noche de Campeones is typically a lucha nerd show and not one that's big with the normal fans. I was just like, so Agent Lo-Fi, honest, reflections here. Are me, Papa, and El Buntador / Adolfo, have we reached the level of great lucha nerdness now? I hope so. Maybe. I don't know. We still got a lot. Yes, I also agree. The Pokemon show was the biggest show this week, and it was probably the best. I think it was the funnest too, because everybody was there. The crowd also were wearing Pokemon hats. It was great. And yeah, so weird to see a Thursday show. Honestly, because I'm used to the Saturday, the Tuesday, the Friday show, not a Thursday show. But you know what? It was really fun, and Pokemon is, I think, a really fun way you could do fun stuff with. We literally have a Mexican wrestler Pokemon. Like, you can never go wrong. But again, kind of closing out our thoughts on this match, these girls went for it. India retains her championship. Kita gets flowers because this was so hard hitting, and she went for it. I had a great time with this one. So moving on to what was our semi-main event. This was, again, I was very interested to see this so high on the card, but it is what it is. This is the CMLL World Mini Estrella, so not the micro. This is the mini, the next level up. This is for the Mini Estrellas Championship. This is the champion, which is Ultimo Dragoncito, taking on Angelito. Agent Lo-Fi, I bet the fact that you watch IWRG on a Thursday and the Pokemon show threw you all sorts of whack. So again, Ultimo Dragoncito defending his Mini Estrellas Championship against Angelito. I thought this was a fun one.
Yeah, it was.
I thought it was fun. I'm not going to say it was bad, but I will say, because of everything we had seen previously to this match, I was just like, I feel like this was a weird place in the card, but I had a good time with this. I think that was my only issue, because the match itself was great, and we got a new champion out of it. But again, because the fans vote for the placement of this card, and the more votes you get, the higher you're up on the card, this felt a little weird. And again, my brain is always like, okay, I'm one of those weirdos that, like, match order to me matters because it helps carry the energy for the entire night. Whether you are, have pay-per-views or that are like 2.5, 3 hours long, like some of our smaller promotions, or you go big or you go home with 4 or 5 hour pay-per-views, like, order matters because it's got to carry the energy. And the match itself, fantastic. I loved it. But like, order and energy wise, I was a little thrown off. I think that's my only critique about this is because of the placement. It was a little weird, especially after we just got off of that hard hitting match with the Amazonas. But I will say this match was actually pretty good. But Papa, what did you think about this?
I thought it was good. I also agree. I think it was a weird placement, but you know what? When the people speak, I mean, who am I to argue? But I really enjoyed it. It was fun. I thought, and I know that this is, and I don't know a lot about the culture. I'm still learning. So, and I saw that Agent Lo-Fi said that the minis are always get a ton of votes. So I mean, I'm assuming these are very popular. These particular fights. So I mean, I guess that's why it ended up so high on the card. And again, of course, we're approaching everything from a Western standpoint. It's like, oh, if I was putting this, I would have put them lower in the card. But because I know that, or I have a general understanding that lucha libre or luchador style is very culture centered. Sort of the people have a lot of say in it. So now I'm just like, okay, this it being here makes total sense. Yeah, the energy is weird, but the energy is weird from a Western standpoint, like an American idea of what wrestling should be.
That is very, very true. And again, the more we cover CMLL, and well, particular for me, because I can only speak for myself, the more I watch CMLL and the more I open myself up to just more of the international brands that we cover here, the more that my perspective on wrestling has changed. And honestly, I'm kind of glad, even though even though I kill myself watching all these things, I'm glad I do, because watching independents and international brands has opened my perspective up as a wrestling fan. And honestly, this was a lot of fun. Agent Lo-Fi coming in with his thoughts. This match was better than expected. Dragoncito has been rough lately, and Angelito is not one to carry. Thankfully, it worked out. And to kind of add to our conversation, most of the guys on the card rarely, if ever, mention fans to vote for them. The minis, though, this is a possible shot at a main/semi-main, which is very, very true. And you know what? In his concluding thoughts, Agent Lo-Fi says, because they're so prominent on social media, the mini stars are, it beats being the opener, which, you know what, is very, very fair. So, like I said, Angelito is your new mini, Estrellas championship. And we move on to the main event. And I'm probably going to get some heat for this. This was my favorite match of the whole entire night. I was just like, listen, I know the crowd has a weird love-hate relationship with Atlantis Jr., but I thought Atlantis Jr. showed up and showed out. But let me tell you, Shelhua, I have slowly been coming to be a bigger fan of yours. You killed it at Death Before Dishonor back during the summer, and now we are seeing you more. Also, your mask is on point. I love Shelhua's mask. And this was my favorite match. I'm probably gonna get some heat, but this was for the World Historic Light Heavyweight Championship. Atlantis Jr. versus Shelhua. I love this match. This is exactly what I wanted. It gave me a mix of everything that we saw earlier in the evening. Atlantis Jr. kills it. Shelhua kills it. There was a lot more technical than I thought it was going to be, which I really appreciated. But yeah, I love this match, and I have to agree with Agent Lo-Fi. Let's give Shelhua main eventing all the things, because this needs to be regular, because he was the star to me. Atlantis Jr. is great, but move over because Shelhua is here, and he was the star for me in this one. Papa, what did you think of this main event?
So I don't understand why you think you're going to get heat for this, for liking it. I mean, honestly, I thought it was a pretty damn good match. And I like Atlantis Jr. I don't know why people have issues with him. I mean, truly, I really like Atlantis Jr., and I will have to, and I'll agree with you both about Shelhua, because man, it's like wow. He's another one that like shows up and shows out. He doesn't just show up and be like, oh, hey.
And Yeah, Agent Lo-Fi, of course, really quickly. Atlantis Jr. got to show off the Yave skills, so he's got them. He just doesn't use them that much these days, which I wish he used it more. I love it when he does it, but I digress. Anyways, back to you, Papa. You were saying?
I loved it. I thought it was a great match. I mean, it's I mean, it would probably rank up there with my one of my favorite matches of the night, for sure. I thought it was really good. It was very strong. I thought it was a good main event. I thought, I thought it ended the show really well. I mean, it was great.
I had a blast with this one, and just the whole Night of Champions was a really lot of fun. Again, because of the fact that Agent Lo-Fi says that this show is more for the lucha and wrestling nerds. I'm a wrestling nerd. I love good wrestling. Like, I don't care where it's at. Good wrestling is good wrestling, and this was a blast. Atlantis Jr. does retain the championship here, but you know what? I wouldn't have been mad if we would have let Shelhua get the championship. But this was a lot of fun. And to close out our thoughts on this match, Agent Lo-Fi, this is probably my fave also. And gimme that Yave. So this was a blast. This was how we ended the show. Noche de Campeones 2025 is in the books. I had a great time. The whole show was a lot of fun. So we are not done, though. So we might be done with the review portion, but let's preview what this Friday gets in. And Papa, you already know what's about to go down. We get the pink background once again. So you know what that means. More Amazonas action. I'm so excited. And this Friday is going to be so good, y'all. Let's run this down, right? So we kick things off with the trios match, which is going to see Rey Cometa, Fuego, and Espiritu Negro taking on Raider, Espanto Jr., and El Galero. So that's going to be fun. Then in Amazonas trios action, we are getting the team of La Jarochita, Skadi, and Tabata taking on, of course, our girls, our queens of Zuxis, Persephone, and Sunelli. And I'm just like, I'm excited. So that should be a fun one. Then after that, we get a special trios match because we have some really fun teams here. We are getting Atlantis, so Atlantis Senior, Templario, and Atlantis Junior teaming up together against Ultimo Guerrero, our lovely zombie defunto, and our Japanese elder statesman Okamura. So that should be a lot of fun as well. But then they're just like, hey, you know what? October, CMLL is just like, we're just going to throw all the craziness at you. So then in the semi-main event, we are getting Bandido versus Hechicero round 2, and it is for the Ring of Honor World Championship. I'm like, you're just going to casually drop a championship match on my Friday. Okay, let's go. And it's Hechicero and Bandido. Listen, I gushed about how much I love their match at Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor. The only critique I had is it went too long, but we're in Arena Mexico. And so I'm like, I'm so excited. Bandido is awesome. Again, Bandido is going to roll. But yeah, I have to agree. Agent Lo-Fi, it's like Bandido and Echi's going to roll, but I don't think they're going to get 38 minutes like they did in ROH. They don't need 38 minutes. Like, I feel like 20 minutes was good. Should have been the stopping point at Death Before Dishonor because they were gassed by the end of it. But then, because it is October and we are preparing for this Women's Grand Prix at the end of the month, the main event, we have phase 1 of the CMLL Universal Amazona Championship to crown our new Universal Amazona champion, so to speak. And round 1 is going to see these 6 compete, and the 6 competing in phase 1 is Olympia, India Sui, La Catalina, Lluvia, Princesa Sujuit, and Candela. And I'm just like, yes. I was just like, we had a grand time last year during this month because we got to see lots and lots of Amazonas action. I mean, we get the Women's Grand Prix, and I believe the show before the Grand Prix, well, no, the Grand Prix is all women, so I'm excited. more Amazonas action is never a bad thing, and I'm excited to see this main event happen with these 6 Amazonas kind of closing out the show for us. Also, please, CMLL, do what you did last year for the Women's Grand Prix, which was basically your all-women show. We had women referees. You know, we got La Vaquerita in there, so let's get everybody there. But bring back the women's Spanish commentary team. That shit was good. I loved we got the Spanish women's commentary team for the whole night. It was so good. And I'm excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, that brings us to the end of our review portion of, CMLL. But don't touch that dial, kids, because I actually have some noticias this week. It's a bit of a short one, but I had to make sure we got noticias because we got a lot of action coming up this weekend in terms of CMLL folks, coming to the States to do all the amazing things. So this Saturday, MLW has their next show in Slaughterhouse. So we are going to see lots of craziness. So this is some of the stuff that is going to be at Slaughterhouse and the taping afterwards. So we are getting a we're getting a semifinal, quarterfinal match here. So this is going to be a lot of fun. But we are getting Volador Jr. Versus Star Jr. So Star Jr. is substituting in for Zandokan Jr., who we know is out with injury, which is very, very sad. But Star Jr. will be taking his place, and this is an Opera Cup quarterfinal match, so this match should be good. But the match I am looking forward to most in the Opera Cup is this one right here. Místico versus Último Guerrero. One of them is going to make it to the semifinals, and this is I'm excited for this match. But then at the other taping for Slaughterhouse, because they're going to be taping 2 shows on Saturday, we are getting our new MLW National Openweight Champion, Blue Panther, defending his title in a triple threat against Atlantis Senior and Rugido. But the one that I am excited about the most is our new MLW World Middleweight Champion, Templario, will be putting his title on the line against Virus. And then, of course, if October wasn't crazy enough, Papa, with all the Amazonas action for the whole month, I just want to remind everyone that in 3 weeks' time, we are once again having Fantastica Mania. This time, Fantastica Mania UK. This is Rev Pro and CMLL teaming up together. And you bet your bottom dollar that we are going to be covering this crossover show between Rev Pro and CMLL. Man, I cannot wait. This is going to be a blast. And that is my noticias for the week. To end things, though, Agent Lo-Fi coming, in to tell us that Miss Tessa Blanchard is coming back to CMLL for a hot minute on the 10th. And we are getting Persephone versus Mercedes Moné from AEW on the 17th. And I was like, yes, women's action's going to be crazy. I'm so excited. Well, that's going to be it for us here at Los Lobos de la Lucha. So before we sign off for the evening, let's take a look at what the remainder of this week looks like. So on Friday, oh boy, listen, Papa here and I and JT and other Will, Friday we are getting together. We are going to be reviewing and talking about TNA Victory Road. This pay-per-view had so much changes to it due to injuries. We literally have a whole wrestler retire from in-ring action, which we're going to talk about because that was crazy. We had impromptu matches. We have new champions, which I still got question marks on those. And again, we're going to be talking about that while also in the back of our minds that TNA is crossing the line and it will be facing off against NXT next week, which is nuts. But we're going to be reviewing Victory Road on Friday. Then on Saturday, it is the Cavalcade of Madness. This is a triple threat because the morning is going to be seeing back-to-back reviews First off, at 8 a.m. Pacific, it is GCW's Effie's Big Gay Brunch UK. So we are crossing the pond to review, gay wrestling, and it's great. We love to see it. Then at 9 a.m., it is Progress Wrestling's Camden Lockup, where we had some fun matches, but we had a Loser League Progress main event that lived up, and the women once again killed it. And then we end the triple threat of morning reviews at 10 a.m. Pacific with a review of GCW's Bloodsport. Josh Barnett has brought the squared ring without the ropes to London. So we're going to see lots of mixed martial artists fighting, knockouts. It's crazy. We're going to review all of that. And then, as if it wasn't crazy enough, later that evening, Adolfo and I will be watching MLW Slaughterhouse. So that's going to be fun. Then we wrap up the week on Sunday with our WWE review of Raw and SmackDown. And we will be giving our predictions for WWE Crown Jewel Perth. So that pay-per-view happening in Australia is coming up this week, which is also crazy to say. But that's going to be it for us here at Los Lobos de la Lucha. When we come back next week, we are in the midst of Amazonas month, and I am so excited. I'm looking forward to this Women's Grand Prix. This is going to be good. But for myself and Papa Oso and the rest of the BC WrestlePod family, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. The trio of myself, Papa, and El Buntador will see you next Wednesday for another episode of Los Lobos de la Lucha. But until next time, this is Sayonara, adios, and until next time, peace.
Me tiene loco en la cabeza cuando me tocas. Siento que todo está bien, pero en verdad yo no sé si tú lo sientes.